Eleanor Whitmore always believed memory was the strongest kind of love. If two people held the same moments, she thought, nothing could ever truly pull them apart. She was wrong. She married Thomas in her early 30s. He was thoughtful, deliberate. The kind of man who folded his clothes carefully and never forgot an anniversary. Their life together wasn't loud, but it was secure, predictable in the best way possible. But then the forgetting began. It started quietly. Thomas would misplace words before he misplaced objects. Sentences would trail off into silence. He'd stare at the kettle, completely forgetting why he'd turned it on. At first, Eleanor would tease him about it. It's just stress, she told herself. Burnout from work. Then one evening, everything changed. He was driving home from his office and ended up 3 towns away. I just followed the road, he said, his voice laced with confusion. It just kept going at the hospital. The sterile corridors felt too clean for something so devastating. A neurologist spoke gently, using careful words like early onset cognitive deterioration, progressive, no reversal. Eleanor listened, asked practical questions, and signed papers with a steady hand. It was only when she got back to her car that her composure shattered. She sat behind the wheel and screamed until her throat was raw and numb. At home, Thomas was still Thomas most of the time, and that, somehow, made everything worse. Some days felt almost normal, others were terrifying. He'd repeat the same stories over and over, forget arguments they just had, lose all track of time. One night, he studied her face with a strange curiosity and asked softly, "Do you live here?" Eleanor forced a smile, then went into the bathroom and pressed her forehead against the cold mirror until the feeling returned to her skin. Friends tried to help, but their discomfort always shortened their visits. Conversations became strained, eventually. The invitations stopped coming. Her new identity became simply caregiver. She labeled every cupboard, set endless reminders, and scattered notes throughout the house. She learned to speak slowly, to wait patiently, and to never, ever finish his sentences for him. But patience has a price. Eleanor stopped sleeping through the night. She stopped reading books. Her favorite escape, she stopped being anyone outside of her responsibilities. And Thomas, in his moments of clarity, noticed, "I am fading." He managed one evening, struggling for the words, "You shouldn't have to carry this." She just held his hand and replied, "I already am." There were moments she resented him, and then hated herself for feeling that way. Moments she mourned the man who was sitting right beside her. Moments she imagined just walking out the door, just to breathe freely again. Love doesn't always feel noble. Sometimes it feels like exhaustion with a pulse. One night, with a clarity he hadn't shown in months, Thomas looked straight at her. "If I forget you," he said, "please remember that I tried." That sentence broke a part of her she didn't even know was there. Eleanor still wakes up every morning and chooses him, not because she hopes for a miracle or for things to go back to the way they were. She knows they won't. She stays because love, when stripped of all its comfort, becomes commitment, because some promises are not meant to be easy. They are meant to be kept quietly, painfully, without an audience.